Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to open the Open Space Stewardship and Policy Work Group special meeting for Thursday, January 21st, 2021. And I'm Marjorie Winters, Mrs. Susan Messina, and we have Tom Jaberski and Tom Hazel and Tom Fitzgerald and Heather Taylor with us today. So we are, let's see, they called it the minutes from the November 30th minute meeting. Do we have any changes? Susan, do you see any? Tom, anybody see any changes you want to make to the minutes?
It's good by me.
Okay. Then I've never been quite sure whether we vote on these since we're such a small group. But I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the, I don't know who can vote. Is it just Susan and me, or can either of you vote? I don't think we can.
It's kind of a subcommittee thing, so it's a little bit.
We'll just accept them as they are.
I think you just accept them, yeah.
Yeah, I think
that would be perfectly acceptable.
All right, good. And then we're going to be discussing today the draft agricultural lease RFP. And Susan, I think you had some things that you wanted to. Did you have any things you wanted to do on that one?
Let's see. So I had sent some questions about that, trying to open up what I had before that I sent. Are we talking about the big document or the smaller document?
I think the RFP.
Oh, the RFP. Okay. You don't have handy the questions that I sent you, do you, Marjorie?
I'd have to go back to my emails, but I can do that.
I'm doing that right now so I can just remind myself. That's why I was trying to get them documented so that they didn't get lost.
I know one of them was about local farmers. You wanted.
Yeah. So is it the RFP that talks about the liability standard, the $1 million liability?
Yes.
Yes.
It is. Okay, I found my notes. Okay, so here was my questions on the, sorry, I'm just juggling all this on a small screen. So my questions on the RFP is the $1 million liability standard? That was just a general question.
This is typically what we look for in the town's RFPs. Now, the one I think they were looking at here is that we may not need the auto liability at the level that it's at.
Okay. Okay, so that was just a question that I had. Another question I had was there seemed to be, and I don't have that document open, I just have my questions open right now. There seemed to be kind of a time frame mismatch because this referred to 4 years, but our intent was to make it like a 5-year rolling kind of situation.
Yeah, I hadn't picked up on any 4-year, but yeah, it seemed to read like 5 years with an option to renew.
Yeah, on page 2, under general information, it mentions 5 years there. I don't recall seeing 4 years anywhere else. Maybe they've already fixed it. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. And then with the option to renew, it suggests that at 5 years, you have kind of like a cliff and maybe you get another 5 years. But I think our intent was to have like a rolling 5 years kind of thing. So you'd always know that you had the potential for a 5-year time horizon. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So after the initial 5 years, they can renew up to 5 years. Or do
no, I think what she's saying is after year 1, they'd already have year 6 already on the books.
Oh, okay.
Be rolling.
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. So every year you just kind of say, yes, I'm interested in keeping my 5-year time horizon kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they can
I got you.
plans. That's what I thought was the intent of our discussion. So I just wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think that's appropriate because that at least keeps annual contact with the farmer. So that
exactly.
you have that once a year, just how's everything going? You're still good for, keeping this alive 5-year blocks. Yep, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do have some requirements that they sort of report to us, some items.
Yeah, and it could be all part of that annual report because there is something they're supposed to supply, I believe, to me or to the commission about an annual report each year.
Yeah.
the committee.
Correct. Okay, related to the annual reporting, is a yearly soil test a standard thing, and who pays for that?
They're not that expensive. I mean, unless
No, and actually, you guys listed the Yukon Nutrient Analysis Laboratory, but I
Yeah.
know that the Connecticut Agricultural Experimental Station will do it as well, because they do it for residents, and from what I recall, it's free, as long as you get in there early, because they do get a lot of testing every year. So it's another avenue.
Right. Is that a standard thing to require a yearly test?
that
I
was,
think if they want to do nutrient supplements, they would need that, because you'll know if your lime is, like, if you need to add lime or any kind of crushed granite or anything like that. Annually, the depletion through the plants. A good farmer, I would think, would do an annual soil test.
it's a way of knowing how much, what to add. Or,
Yeah, I do it
or
just
if
for
their
my little
practices-
garden.
or if their practices are not doing what they want.
Right. Of course. I mean, it is best practice and whatever. I just didn't know what was the standard, is this a new thing that we're adding that's going to be putting a burden on the farmers? Even if it's not a cost, it's like a logistical issue. So I was just trying to be sensitive about, like, what are those logistics, and is this a standard thing?
I think it would be standard if they're going to propose additions to soils to up the nutrients. The question becomes why? Well, here's my analysis that says I'm low on this, I need to add.
Okay. Okay.
Just
Yes.
winging it every year isn't going to work.
Right.
Also, if we're hoping that they will be improving the soil, we want to see that their organic content is going up. A lot of the soils that we have, especially some of the soils that we use for tobacco, they're really mined of their organic matter. So we want to see the trend improve.
Yep.
And that'll even dictate some cover crops in the off season in order to up nutrients as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So I wonder if we can put together, I'm sure the existing farmers know about the ag station and resources to get testing or whatever. I wonder if we could just put together like a resource list for how to get this done, just so that, they don't get this requirement. They're like, how do I even deal with this? It's just one more thing.
Yeah.
If a computer person or don't know where the resources are.
And I think also DEP, I'll check DEP and see what they have, because they might have a resource list in order to guide you someplace regionally.
Yeah.
I only knew about the ag station because I was working in Windsor. So I bring my garden soil there to get tested.
Yeah, I think since it is an agricultural station, they know, and the extension officers would on them.
Yeah, just a list of soil testing sites, because there are some private ones too, just like there are for water. The water does cost a little bit more, but there are some private testing facilities around.
One thing that's also true is that I know if you use different testing systems, like different soil test groups, your results come back somewhat, the numbers come back the same, the interpretation comes back slightly different. So it's nice to use the same one.
Yeah. And again, I think Susan brings up a good point that if you've been a farmer and you're established, it's a good common practice to get the best growth out of your land. So I think they've been using someone they could present. We get tested here all the time. Okay, that's good.
And not only you get tested, but it helps the farmer minimize the amount of that they have to put on.
Oh yeah, that lowers their cost, and that's why they typically do it. I made a note to forget a list of soil test sites.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we have any more questions on that RFP? Was there another?
Well, my other little question about the I guess no. My other question was about the other document. So I think that's it about
We're set with the RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the RFP, when we get it out, we'll do a 3-week turnaround on it. And the town manager's intern is going to be the lead person on it. So all of the applications will be sent to her. She will summarize them and get them back to whoever the selection committee is determined to be.
Yeah. Who will that selection committee be?
I would guess it's probably be Tom Hazel, and some form of some of the open space committee members probably.
Because I know that
They tell me to jump, I'll jump.
so that comes up in the next document as to who all these reports and all these things are going to go to, and if there's going to be
There's two parts to the RFP. I've got the general form that they fill out with all the stuff, and then we have the land usage policy.
Mhm.
On that land usage policy, the only thing that I saw that was highlighted was the farm stand. What are the restrictions? And we just went through an approval of a farm stand over on Firetown Road.
Mhm.
There's some minor things in the zoning regulations that would apply to that. And I could supply that to whomever's updating these drafts. But it's simple stuff like 35 feet from the road, adequate parking surface for up to the minimal amount of vehicle traffic proposed, which is usually, you get 2 parking spaces in your farm stand and a space for whomever's at the stand. But I could try to dig up all the nuances to that to supply for that draft as well.
Okay, I've got the draft, so if you send it to me, I can just put it in.
Yep, I will review the one that we just did, and I will try to get that to you.
Okay, and then Tom, you'd be the best one to ask for the water courses. It says the leasing may not cultivate within.
We have under our ag regs.
Yeah.
For the storage of any kind of manure or fertilizer or anything, there is already a 50-foot rule that
Okay.
you can't keep it near any body of water or anything like that. And unfortunately, through deep wetlands don't get involved because ag is an as of right use.
Yes, I know, but
But
this was a 25-foot buffer in the or exclusion area in the I think Manchester or whatever. I have to do 50 just because.
yeah, I would do 50 would match the zoning regs, so that way that we're consistent for our land as well as privately owned farmland.
Good. But I
You're talking about 50 feet for storing manure?
50, it's got to be at least 100 feet from any abutter's property line, or for the store. Where did we have that? That's in here someplace. Give me 1 second. I'll find it.
This is on that document C that we have,
yeah.
attachment C.
Yeah, I think our manure rules are 100 feet from any abutters, but we don't allow storage of manure for long term anyway under this lease. It's supposed to be brought and disposed of into the soil. So I think it was mainly the storage of any kind of byproduct that needs to be added. It has to be 50 feet from any water body. I remember reading that somewhere.
But does that also apply for 50 feet from the abutters, or would the storage of anything be 100 feet from abutters?
I wouldn't worry so much about additives outside of manure just because of the odor and whatnot. I would keep that 100 foot from abutters. Just gives a little bit better, but the wind blows 100 feet doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, not at all.
But it can be slightly unsightly.
So the 50 feet would fit. So that works. Okay, so we can keep 50 feet. Okay.
I would keep that. My regs.
And then the other things that are highlighted in the draft are who this all goes to, which gets back to our conversation before. Should we keep it as the open space committee? And town staff?
Police are interested in qualified firms or individuals are to submit an application and fee proposal attached electronically to our intern, and then she'll disseminate it to us.
No, I'm thinking.
She's talking about the land use policy.
I'm talking about the land use policy. Yeah. Because I know in the POCD, there was mention of setting up an agriculture committee.
That's right, because that isn't set up yet.
You haven't set that up. So that's sort of the nebulous part in this document of who all of this information goes to. Do we want to make it by default the open space committee and you and the open space committee, or you, or the
We probably start in the open space committee. We seem to be in charge of the whole oversight of the thing to begin with.
Okay, so we'll
and then if if there needs to be comment, conservation could always make comment. They're not legally binding, but they could comment if we see something in there and want to get their input.
Yep. Okay, so I'll put into says the one, and like in the maintenance improvement of soil organic, it says the leasing is encouraged to contact the open space committee. Well, who on the open space committee? How do they do that?
I guess it could be, considering I'm here, you know,
Yeah.
but put it as Tom Hazel, Open Space Committee Liaison, attention to for the Open Space Committee. And that way I get it and then I give it. And that way we have a pathway.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
No problem. I like throwing myself under the bus.
That's that Tom H.
I'm quiet.
I know. Tom's like, what is it? Not it.
Yeah. He's got enough moving parts for this whole process too. So.
All right. Was there anything else in there that we didn't?
No, I think that was most of it.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was most of it. And I did offer to talk to a couple of farmers just to kind of go over it and see if they had whatever ideas or input or anything. But I just want to say that hasn't happened yet. I think sometimes the phones don't work out on the fields. And so I haven't managed to like personally tag anyone yet, but I don't know, maybe I'll be able to do that. I mean, I looked it over again. It all seems like pretty, I don't think any of this stuff would be any surprise or anything super unusual to an existing farmer. I mean, that's my impression.
I mean, they were things that were requested by other towns, their farmers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then there was a few little things I added, but it was mainly about the soil.
And can you,
No, never mind. Go ahead.
I missed I didn't quite hear the beginning part because I was looking for my questions about the farm stand. What was the crux of that?
The general rule of thumb under the zoning regulations that we've been running by is the farm stand is a minimum of 35 feet from the road frontage in order to not make any sightline or traffic issues, and that there be an adequate parking surface for a proposed amount of vehicles. Typically what we've seen is parking for one or two vehicles on in a residential farm stand situation. A working farm stand on a farm without a primary residence, I would assume would be probably a minimum of 3, 2 clients and 1 operator type of situation, because most people stop in, spend 10 minutes, and then they're gone.
Yeah. So is a farm stand allowed by right at a farm?
On a farm, it doesn't say specifically, but because we have an acreage designation and all of our plots meet that minimum acreage, it would qualify under whatever section that I'm pulling it from automatically.
Okay.
Farm stands, I believe, because we have farm stands, ag-related activities, non-ag-related activities. I don't think these are going to fall into, the farms that we have established privately that are doing, daycare type things and, they're having events. This is not going to be much like that. I think we're going to try to keep it more just, if you want an active farm stand, you're allowed to do this just to help them out.
Okay. I was just checking that there wasn't any kind of differential. No. And we just want to keep it so it's as safe as possible. And I would avoid, because this is town-owned land, any kind of outside activity other than that, because we don't need to have someone trying to throw a concert on a cornfield. Right. Yeah, that's not what we're leasing it to them for. Exactly. And that's why I would just leave it at farm stand and just keep it off the road. And the adequate parking surface is just like if they could lay down some gravel so they're not tracking mud out in the road during rainy season and stuff. I mean, because we get tracking problems just from building subdivisions and stuff like that. It becomes a nightmare to track it down, have them clean it up. So if someone wants to go as far as to build a farm stand, temporary or semi-permanent, they could at least throw something down to keep the mud from getting tracked out. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So we don't have any.
And something I want to remind both Susan and Marjorie for when the committee does meet, At some point, we're going to have to get creative and come up with numerals or names for some of these parcels because they don't have standard assessors stuff. And in talking to Marjorie prior to the start of the meeting, the parcel that's coming up for lease was the Napolitano site. It's a 5-acre parcel wedged between two larger parcels on the east side of Barn Door. And it's all one unified parcel as far as the assessor is concerned. So it's going to have, and it has no address. So basically it's going to have to be the East Barn Door parcel, lot 1, lot 2, lot 3 type situation, just to keep some consistency. Because honestly, I have the leases here, and one picture has a rectangle drawn for a 5-acre parcel, and then the 3 pages deeper, it's drawn someplace else for the 5-acre parcel. So I'm going to talk with Jeff Shea and get that all ironed out, and then we could, when the committee meets, we could discuss how we want to number it 1, 2, and 3, and I'll have some visuals for that.
Good.
And then when we tackle the triangle eventually, we could parse that one up the same kind of way, lot 4, 5, and 6, or whatever we decide.
Okay. All right. So were we done with the land use? Okay. Then we're moving on to the criteria for acquisition of open space. I know, Susan, you had a couple of things. I know I've got a couple of minor edits.
I found a typo. If I can find my packet. Whoops. Do you want to go? Let me see if I can open.
I found it on the very last page under objectives in preserving open space.
Yes.
It says provide sites for active.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recreation.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's the one I found.
And then,
Yeah.
and then it said, the second bullet is enhanced connection to existing open space. Is it between open space or is it just to open space?
I like existing, because if we buy a parcel and it's not already open space that it's connecting to and someone develops it, it's kind of a loss.
Yeah, but do you want them like, all right, two open space. Yeah, it might just be one. All right. Those are the only things I saw. I think I saw. Yeah. Did you have any others?
Oh,
Yeah, those were the typos. I'm just looking through it again because I think the goal was to kind of finalize this among us and then put this forth. Well, actually, it's funny. It'll be like a year since we first brought it up, but put it forth for the rest of the open space committee to kind of whatever, affirm it basically at the next meeting.
It looks pretty straightforward in my book, and it hopefully it'll help us from getting these little postage stamps from developments all over town.
Mm.
Because that's one thing I run into in a lot of, now that we allow for open space subdivision developments, the last thing that they want to do is once they've released the road and everybody owns their lot, they want to release the leftover open space to us that there's no access and it's just garbage. So hopefully we can set a criteria. This bar seems to be high enough to avoid some of that. Because I know from Tom Tversky's standpoint, maintenance is always an issue with that.
And just you get dumping in those neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
That's
We own enough swamps with beavers in it to cause you a year-round problem.
Yes. We know that, Susan.
I know, exactly. They're doing well now. I think we've stabilized the situation.
I shouldn't have said anything. I jinxed myself.
No, everything's cool. So the one thing I just noticed, because we were just going through in the Science and Technology Working Group of the Governor's Council on Climate Change, what would be kind of the core elements of a strategic network that you would need to protect. And the one explicit thing that was on that list that's not on this is Headwaters. Now, I don't know what we have for Headwaters. I know the Headwaters of Stratton Brook are someplace behind my neighborhood. I don't know where the other Headwaters are, but those are also kind of an important thing. So I don't know. I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench, but that is just a specific thing that may not be captured on the in the list right now.
I'm in a meeting, so sorry. Doorbell rang. I mean, it could be part of the objectives area to put protection of headwaters in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Protected drainage waters, headwaters. That would be good.
Sorry, it's a little loud here. I'm going to mute myself while you guys talk.
Okay. Yeah. So
That would be good.
protection of surface water quality. Do you think that counts as, I mean, headwaters are kind of like surface and more. So, maybe we should say something like, i.e., headwaters, wetlands, vernal pools, and riparian corridors, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because we don't really have that in there. You have to be right. I mean, it goes with surface water quality, but a lot of those areas are habitat as well. I mean, the riparian.
Right.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be bad to have belt and suspenders.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing, Marjorie?
It wouldn't be bad to have belt and suspenders. I mean, it might be covered under the other, but it just calls it out.
Yeah, just to be a little bit more specific, because sometimes, I do know that there is no specific protection for headwaters, which is just a gap in public policy that I became aware of a few years ago. And, that's like the source, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably mostly protected. I don't know, but, whatever. They're not under threat, at least.
No, I mean, they can, yeah.
Why not
And
just
I'm sure our list is pretty short too on what headwaters we do have in town.
Right, exactly. I mean, I know there's some in the swamp someplace behind my house, but, one of the things, my goals right now is to just nail down these things while we're thinking about them, so that somebody comes back later and they know what it means. There's no question like, oh, well, this isn't on the list. So,
Like nailing it on that, provide sites for active. That would, it'd be good to nail that down. It's for active recreation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tom, do you want to take a stab at that and just put that in, because I don't know if I got that document, but I don't know who has that document. That would be.
I don't
I
have
think
the
it's
master
Tom
copy.
F. What about
Yeah.
You're all pointing in different directions. Tom,
It's either Lena in Tom F's office, or I don't have the master, but that came as part of the work group packet. So it came from, I believe, Lena or Tom was working on this. Tom F was working on this.
all right.
Okay. Do you want me to I can just put that little list of things for Tom F and say, can you add this to number 1? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So if you do that, then I do the putting in a little bit about the farm stand and changing all those highlighted areas to open space committee or Tom Hazel, who is our open space liaison. That will finish up that draft, and then we will have finished all 3, and we'll be able to. I'll send that back as soon as you send me that from information. Tom Hazel, I will put it in, and then we will send it back to you, and we'll go from there. But I think those are the 3 items on our agenda, weren't they?
Yeah. And Marjorie, 30 minutes, man, you're unbelievable and getting stuff done. So thank you.
It wasn't much to do. All right. All right.
I will just add that Lena in Maria's office works on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if the sooner we can get her something, that she can update it and get it in the packet for next week if we want it approved.
Okay. So if I get it today or tomorrow, I'll get it back out. Same thing.
I'll try to get you my information as quickly as possible, because it's not very hard to do what I got to do.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Good.
on it.
Good. All right. And then what are we working on after that? Oh.
I think we could start hitting the website after that. How's that?
Yeah. Well, and then the other things that I had on my kind of mental list were, I don't know where we are with like the whatever, mowing and stewardship for like pollinator versus bird areas. And then the other, so that's like a positive thing. The kind of negative sticky thing I think we should deal with, which relates to the website, is just getting some specific information on there about like encroachment, dumping, and stuff like that, which is a, unpleasant issue, but it has happened and it's continuing to happen. So
yeah, it's good to, yes, I agree.
And then I'd also like to put in your heads that we would like to deal with the barn door hill triangle to get some formulated plan that's acceptable to the either the board or the town manager's office that they could take a look at and comment on, and then maybe we could, by the end of the year, have that major plan developed so that we can start moving forward, because I think there's room for buffer strips and stuff like that. So we can start working on that as well.
All right. Excellent.
Excellent.
We have a plan for next time. Okay.
Right. So
I don't know.
Three more half-an-hour meetings, Marjorie. We'll have all that stuff taken.
I have all these things done. All right. So if there's no more, I'm going to call for adjournment. And since we don't really have, we'll just say that's the end of our meeting, since we're not voting.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.